Hey YouTube, Chris Cornaris here, the cryptocurrent team, bringing you another episode of Crypto Decrypted. And today we are talking DAOs, and no, not the Chinese philosophy.
Crypto Decrypted.
All right, now before we dive into today's episode, I do want to remind y'all that if this is your first time coming to the channel, how about you do me a favor and go hit that subscribe button? Really would help us out. And of course, if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to leave a like on the video. Now let's jump right on in. So DAO, what actually is a DAO? Well, it's an acronym and it stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. This means that it's a decentralized entity with no central leadership where decisions are made from the bottom up, governed by a set of rules established on a blockchain. So DAOs are collectively owned and managed by their members, and typically they also have a treasury for the DAO, which is only accessible when a majority of the members allow it. So that's just a very quick, very brief rundown on what a DAO is. And now you may be wondering how they actually work. It's like I was saying, as you may be picking up, a DAO essentially functions similarly to a corporation or, an LLC, something like that. The difference here is that they are truly decentralized, and membership and ownership, all of that is dictated by the holders of a token. Holding this token typically is going to incentivize validators to make sure the transactions are moving smoothly and the rules are being followed. And speaking of rules, the rules are both enforced and executed via smart contracts, meaning that once the initial developers of a DAO implement that first smart contract, they no longer have any control over it, and it becomes a true decentralized organization without the ability for one person to make an executive decision and kind of screw over everyone else. You may be wondering also, what do DAOs actually do, right? I explained what they are, I explained how they work, but what are some in practice? And the cool thing about DAOs is there are an entire variety of them. So the first DAO that I want to talk about is called Dash. And ironically enough, it also is known by many as the first true DAO. Dash stands for digital cash. And essentially, what Dash is trying to accomplish is to improve upon the existing framework of Bitcoin. Originally, it was a fork of Litecoin, which, as many know, is a fork of Bitcoin. And I can explain forks in another video. That's just a quick little recap for y'all. But essentially, what Dash wants to do is to create an even more transparent payment system than Bitcoin. So even more transparent and with faster transactions. That's the general goal. And Dash is a DAO. It is managed by its members, right? So all the decisions about where to take it next, any improvements you want to make are made by the community of Dash holders. And next, I want to talk about Apecoin. As I'm sure many of you are thinking, it is directly connected to the Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs. However, Apecoin is an ERC20, meaning it's really just a governance token. And the point of this token is to essentially decide the direction that the ape ecosystem as a whole will go in the future. It was started by Yuga Labs, who's behind the Bored Ape Yacht Club, but now is entirely in the hands of the ape token holders. Another example is a really cool one, and these are actually, the next two I'm going to give you are more the unique applications of DAOs, but I think the more interesting applications of them as well. So there's another DAO called Lynx DAO. This is a really cool one. You've probably heard about it, maybe vaguely. And the idea behind Lynx DAO is to create this community of golf enthusiasts. And their goal in the long run is to actually buy a golf course and then kind of run and manage it from a decentralized perspective, right? They want to essentially create a golf club that isn't just run by a handful of uber wealthy people, but is actually ran by a group of golf enthusiasts that all hold the Lynx DAO token. And to date, they've raised over $10 million towards their goal via the sales of things like NFTs and all that. And like I was saying earlier, this is all deposited into the Lynx DAO treasury, and nobody can access that unless, a majority of all of the holders and members are voting to say, yes, spend it. And then finally, I want to talk about ATX DAO. For those who don't know, ATX is referring to Austin, Texas, which is where I reside. And essentially, the ATX DAO token is the ownership or governance token for the ATX DAO, which is, in essence, a political action committee. And the goal of the ATX DAO is to help kind of push forward positive crypto and Web3 legislation both in Texas and in Austin. And to date, they've held many events where they're inviting Texas congressmen and other politicians, not just for locally in Texas, but for the national representatives to come and learn more about the burgeoning crypto community in Austin, Texas. But as we start to wrap up the video, I do want to just summarize the bulk of what I was talking about. So essentially, DAOs are a decentralized way of solving what's called the principal and agent dilemma. And this affects basically all traditional companies, right? Where in theory, a major company is going to have a board, it's going to have shareholders who, in theory, are voting and deciding on the direction. But you also have, the agent, right? The CEO who's actually in charge of the day to day. While in theory they work for the shareholders, there are going to be many times, we've seen this in the past, where a CEO, while they should act in the best interest of the company and shareholders, will act in their personal best interest. Decentralized autonomous organizations get rid of any risk of that because it is truly decentralized. There is no central figure. All decisions must be made by a majority of token holders. And that's going to conclude today's video, guys. I hope you all found this interesting. And if you did, don't forget to leave a like on the video, as it does really help us out. And of course, if you have any questions or want to learn more, you can leave something down in the comments below, and I'll make sure to get to it. But until next Thursday, guys, I'm Chris Cornaros, and this has been another episode of Crypto Decrypted. I hope y'all are staying cryptocurrent.